All right. First of all, my name is Andre Cohen, and I will be the instructor for this class. We're going to do a quick activity just to kind of get our minds thinking about how we've come to be, who we are, and things that we can do to kind of take control of our lives. I mean, we're taking some first steps here by attending class and being a part of this journey called education. So let's go ahead and get started. What I would like for you to do is to create a circle that is large enough to put information inside of. All right? So a circle that's large enough to put information inside of. And let's say that this is the circle of all human knowledge. Everything that can be known is contained in this circle. All right? So what I'd like for you to do now is to cut yourself a piece of pie the size of what you know. Of everything that there is to know. I want you to cut yourself a piece of pie the size of what you know. All right? So what are some examples of things that you know? You probably know your name. You probably know how to do things at your job. You probably know how to drive or some kind of vehicle, so drive some kind of vehicle or do something with your hands. You probably know those things, all right? Probably know facts. You know there's 7 days in a week, 24 hours in a day, so forth and so on. So there are tons of things that you know. What I'd like for you to do now is to cut yourself a piece of pie relative to the size of what you know you do not know, all right? The size of what you know you do not know. For example, I know that I do not know Mandarin Chinese. I know that I don't know that, all right? So I'm sure that there are things that you know you don't know. So I'm going to go ahead and cut my piece of pie, which is going to look like this. And these are things that I know that I don't know. Now, I know that many of you were thinking as you went to cut your piece of pie, well, if this is the slice of what I know, then the rest of the pie must be what I know I don't know. And again, I want to challenge you on that, because there could be some things that you know you don't know that contribute or keep us away from this third piece, which is the stuff that I don't know, that I don't know. All right? So we have what we know, we have what we know we don't know, and then we have what we don't know we don't know. And I would also refer to that as this piece of the pie as a blind spot. All right? So if I put together what I know and what I know I don't know, I might call that reality. Okay? We're going to come back to reality in just a minute. But first, I want to talk a little bit about this expansion. As a human being, part of our drive is to expand what we know, to eliminate what we don't know we don't know. All right? And what is that process called? I mean, we spend thousands of dollars to be a part of these institutions. We send our kids to these places of part of this process. The process is called education, and the result of that process is something that we like to refer to as learning. Learning is how we alleviate the stuff that we don't know, and expand what we know. All right? So it helps us expand what we know. So what is learning? What is learning? Well, oftentimes when I ask that question, people say that learning is about some kind of mental gymnastics, expanding your mind, getting new information, blah, 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 blah. And I would suggest that is part of what learning is. That is actually a small part of what learning is. And that learning, more importantly, is demonstrated by this story. It's Monday night. My sister's cooking dinner for her family. My 4-year-old niece at the time comes into the kitchen to help. She puts her hand on the stove. Psst. What happens to my niece's hand? It gets burned. She's got an owie. Tuesday night, my sister is cooking dinner for her family, and my 4-year-old niece walks into the kitchen to help, and she puts her hand on the stove. Psst. Did my niece learn? Did she learn? I mean, she had information. I'm sure my sister taught her or told her, don't do that, honey, the first time she did it, but she did it again the second time, so did she learn? And I would submit to you that she did not learn. And why does she not learn? Because she did it again. So learning is also, it is those other things. It's expanding your mind and getting new information and doing something that you've never done before. But it is also evidenced by a change in behavior. If there is no change in behavior, can I say that someone learned? I don't know that I can say that. If there's no change in behavior. Why do people go to medical school? They go to medical school so after they finish that process, they can act, behave, think, and do what doctors do. That's why they go to medical school. Now, if I go to an accounting school, my expectation is by the time I finish that accounting school, that I will what? Be able to behave and act and think like an accountant. So learning is about a change in behavior. And so as you go forward in your classes, as you go forward in school, if you don't recognize that everything that you're learning has something to do with a change in behavior, then you may find that the stuff that you're doing isn't very interesting. The stuff that you're doing may be boring, it may be difficult, because you haven't figured out what that has to do with a change in your behavior. And it's so funny, our kids in high school get really bored or get really irritated sometimes because the things that they're learning in school, they don't see how that should have an impact on their behavior or what that means for their behavior. I mean, you've heard students say it all the time, you've probably said it yourself, what does this have to do with real life? And as a teacher and an instructor, if I can't answer that question, then it's probably not something I need to be teaching. If it doesn't help you change your behavior in the ways and the directions of your goals and your dreams and your desires. All right? So learning is about a change in behavior. So I want you to think about that and hold on to that as we continue forward in this session. So let's go back to this concept of no and no, I don't know. I would call that my reality. Not only would I would call that the reality, I would also call that the prevailing truth. I would call that the truth, that my reality is my truth. It is what is right and fact supported and people supported. All these people say that these things are the truth. So what is the truth? I mean, that's philosophers for thousands of years since the dawning of man have tried to explain or explore the possibilities, explore the definition, explore the gravity of this thing called the truth. What is the truth? And to be quite honest, I don't know what the truth is. And here are a couple of examples why. In 1982, I was in 6th grade. I had a teacher that I loved and adored. Her name was Mrs. Young. And Mrs. Young was just a fabulous person. All right? And I loved and adored her for these 3 reasons. The first reason was she drove a tangerine orange Corvette. And in 1982, that was hot. All right? The second reason I loved Mrs. Young was because she had green hair. Now, she was too old to be a punk rocker, so it must have been like an old lady dye job gone bad. But it looked really cool in her tangerine orange Corvette. And the third reason I love Mrs. Young was because I felt that she had my best interests at heart. She never wanted anything bad to happen to me, that she only wanted the best for me, and that she cared for me. And on a test in 1982 in Mrs. Young's class, she gave out a test, and this was one of the questions on the test. And in 1982, I want you to think about what my answer would have been. And the question was this: how many planets are there in the solar system? And in 1982, what was my response to that? 9. There were 9 planets in the solar system. If I were to ask a 6th grader today, how many planets are there in the solar system, what answers might I get? More popularly, I would get the answer of 8. And why would I get that answer? I would get that answer because Pluto is no longer considered a planet. It has been demoted from planet status. All right? It's been demoted from planet status. So that's why. Thank you very much. Bye.